Podcast.
It's Build a Big Podcast, the marketing podcast for podcasters. I'm David Hooper. If you want to have a better podcast, one that gets an audience, one that gets that audience talking about it, sharing your message with other people, one that makes you money, bigpodcast.com is the site. That is where to go to get related information. I've got episode templates. I've got marketing help for you there. Free downloads. They'll help you grow your podcast and make something that people care about. This podcast is one of those things. On this episode, I'm talking about the brand new Audacity. They just released a new update, and it's worth mentioning here because it has 3 brand new features that podcasters have been asking for forever. And if you use Audacity, you're going to appreciate these. They're so good. If you don't use Audacity, you might want to think about it. I know a lot of people, they get really particular when it comes to their DAW, digital audio workstation. It's like a Southern man. You pick Ford or you pick Chevy, and you never switch. Or guitarist, you pick Fender or you pick Gibson. You got a favorite, and you never switch. A lot of podcasters, we feel something similar when it comes to how we record our podcast. And I know for me, I love Audacity. I've probably been using it for 20 years. I'm recording on it right now, the brand new version, 3.1. Lots of pro audio types, and I deal with them a lot because I was in the music business so long. They make fun of it, and it certainly has its limitations. I know a lot of people, they use Pro Tools. That's how we record my music business show. I've done a lot of work on all these DAWs. I've used Pro Tools, Reaper, Adobe Audition. I've even got a copy of Handlebars. And even though I've got access to all of these, I still prefer Audacity. I love that it's open source. There's a very punk rock, free radio element to it. It's cross-platform. It's free. You download it. You load it up. You hit the record button. You're going. And I think that's super empowering. I love it that it's open source. I love that so many people use it. There's a huge community around it. A few months ago, it was acquired by a company who put full-time developers on it, not just volunteers. And they have been really great with updates and adding things that podcasters have asked for years. Like I said, there are 3 things that have been added to this release, all of which make it a more powerful podcast editor. One of these things, they have added clip handlebars, meaning that you can move audio tracks around a lot easier than you could previously. It's very similar to something that you would see in Pro Tools, Reaper. Most of the other DAWs have this. Audacity is finally catching up with it. If you need to delete a clip, it does not adjust the entire timeline. Previously, if you deleted a clip, let's say it was between the 5 and 10 second mark, you deleted that 5 seconds, it would shift everything over to the left so it came 5 seconds earlier. With this version of Audacity, it does not do that. I actually had this happen to me on the previous episode, the one that was just released. It threw off the timeline, and I was talking over my guest, or she was talking over me. What's going on? I don't remember it like that. Went back. Sure enough, I deleted one clip. It had shifted the timeline. I had no idea. That's usually something that I would catch. Sometimes you don't, though. Even with the experience that I have, sometimes things slip through. This is going to make sure that that's not an issue for you. They've got something called Smart Clips. This is a way to non-destructively trim clips within your podcast. Audacity in general is what they call a destructive editor, meaning if you make a decision to cut something, to change something as far as EQ, put an effect on something, it's going to change it, and it changes it permanently. Smart Clips, it does not do that. You can move clips around. You've got the old audio with the change log intact. So you can move the clips. You can go back. You can change it to the original audio that you had. It's a whole lot more powerful than it was. That's something a lot of people have been asking for. It's never been something that's really affected me because I believe in making a decision and sticking to it. I'm not that particular on audio like some people are. I'm not going to somebody with this podcast, for example, and asking a committee of people, well, do you like this edit? Do you like this storyline? I don't do that kind of podcast, at least not this one. So I don't need to worry about the non-destructive element that Audacity does not have. However, if you are worried about it, Audacity has it now, at least some of it, with these added smart clips. It's a nice feature to have for a lot of people. It's nice to have if you need it. They've reworked the looping feature, meaning that you can play a clip and it starts over again and it plays a clip, So it'll sound like this.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen.
And as it's looping that, you can fool around on the EQ, you can fool around on effects or noise gates or whatever you're doing. Get the one that you want without having to start over and over again like you had to previously. It's great if you're doing any kind of tweaking on a certain type of audio, dialogue, and you want to hear different options without starting over. It will save you a lot of time. The new Audacity, and I'm talking about version 3 and up, not just this version 3.1, it gives you the option to automatically update. So if you are on version 3 or up, you may have already seen that version 3.1 is available. I'm mentioning this update here on this episode because some people just update it and they don't know what has changed. I think these 3 features will help you, and it's at least nice to have them if you need them, just in case, if you're not going to use them right now. But also, I think a lot of people have written Audacity off. Like I said, a lot of my pro audio friends, they make fun of it. And I can't blame people. If I was doing mastering of an audio book and certainly music, anything that I was going to put out to the world in that way, I'm probably going to go with somebody that's got Pro Tools or Audition, something where they can tweak it just a little bit more. But for a general podcast, if you're using something like I do, like Auphonic, or you're using RX, which is something that I always use, Audacity is great. Audacity is great to record into. It is great to edit as far as content. And if you've got something like Auphonic or RX to tweak EQs, to isolate the dialogue, get rid of reverb, EQ things, when used with one of those programs, I find Audacity to be plenty. It's free. It's powerful. There's a great community around it. I've been using it for 20 years. Everything that you hear on this podcast and my sister podcast, Red Podcast, everything has been recorded and edited in Audacity. So I encourage you to take a look at it. audacityteam.org is the website. Of course, I'll have all these in the episode notes. podcast.bigpodcast.com. If you're not getting every episode of this podcast, by the way, let me tell you how to do that. I'm going to give you 2 ways. The first, you can call the hotline, 615-488-4321, 615-488-4321. I will send you a text link. It will take you directly to the subscription option for the phone that you have, an iPhone, an Android. Either way, I got you covered. And if you want those links via your computer, bigpodcast.com/subscribe. I've also got an RSS link. It's very easy. 1 click is all it takes. bigpodcast.com/subscribe. Go there right now. Pick your poison. Android, iPhone, RSS. I've got you covered. bigpodcast.com/subscribe. Go there before you forget. And I will see you on the next episode of Build a Big Podcast.